Whoa, welcome everyone and welcome back for some. It's been a while since my last uploaded video, and this was partly due to Microsoft Ignite. What an Ignite it was. And right after that I was asked to do 2 webinars for my employer, Projectum. And yeah, you can find the link in the show notes for those 2 webinars. They're partly based on Power BI and partly based on Power PPM, which is our Power Platform project management solution. But without diving too deep in my own procrastination, here's another video about one of my favorite topics, new Power BI visuals, and specifically Gantt chart visuals. Now, consider subscribing and hit the like button if you like this kind of video. In last month's update for Power BI Desktop, one of these 2 visuals was mentioned by Power BI team, and this was the ADWISE RoadMap visual. And if you go to the Power BI visuals and you go to App Source and you click on Gantt, you will find that ADWISE RoadMap down below. And the other visual that we're going to look into today is the Acterys Gantt. And this is linked up to the application called Acterys. Am I saying it correctly? Acterys. So we're going to take a look at 2 Gantt chart visuals today, and both of these visuals fall under the category more required additional purchases. Now, what this means for the Acterys version, for the Acterys visual, it means that you might want to hook it up to the Acterys tool itself. That is the additional costs. And for the ADWISE visual, it's more of a formatting features, and they have that same watermark kind of situation like the XViz guys have. So I already have both of these visuals, the Acterys Gantt and the ADWISE, downloaded in my custom visuals section, as well as the other visuals that I've previously covered in other videos. But let's start with the ADWISE roadmap. And I have 2 pages for the ADWISE roadmap because at first try I didn't succeed very well in creating a visual that I liked. So I did a second run in which I used the demo data that ADWISE provides on their own website. And you can find that demo data as well in the table data here. So they have their own demo data, and yeah, that helps understanding what the actual visual does. But let's jump back into our own environment. So right from the start, and I like this from custom visuals, where if you push that custom visual to the canvas, it shows you how to use this visual. Very straightforward, very nice. There's also an option to get that trial license, of course, and you have an option to visit the support website. And it gives you just that feeling that you're not left swimming. And that is a huge plus for this visual. So from the start, there's a lot that you can do with this ADWISE visual. There's something called the axis Y, and that axis Y is actually the task or project level that you want to surface. Then there's grouping, and that can be, for instance, the category or the enterprise project type if we're talking about project online data. Then details is going to show up in the task, then start and end date, self-explanatory. Category is another distinguishing factor. And then you have type. Well, type is the milestone. So let that sink in a bit, because that milestone needs to be defined specifically in a separate table. How ADWISE does that in their own demo data is they have this table data and then they have a type, and it's either a phase or it is a milestone. So this table, so this column doesn't show up in Project Online natively. We have the value that's called is milestone, and then you can set that to yes or no. But you actually need to have it phrase milestone or phase. So you need to create this table in order for it to work. Jumping back to the visual, let's have a look on populating it. So let's start with the task level, and let me show you what went wrong with my first attempt. So we go and we are going to add task name into the X, or in the axis Y, and then start date, and then finish date. And from this I got very discouraged from the visual. As you can see, this is not suitable for enterprise. But then again, I had task name on the highest level, so maybe if I added project name here, it would summarize a bit better. But then I came to the conclusion that that wasn't an option. The only thing that happens is it gets replaced. So let's replace the task start and finish dates, and let's have that as the start date of the project as well as the finish date of the project. And now this looks nice. It has a very nice visual representation of the tasks. Let's do some sorting here as well, where we have the source either being project for the web or project online. And here you see a nice rostering of the data, and you notice that there's this watermark free version. As soon as I enter that group or any of the other values down below here, it will change. It will show up and tell you that this is actually the free version that you're using. So as you know, we don't have a milestone type of task column. I haven't created it because I have the demo data here to show you what a milestone would actually look like in the ADWISE. So let's briefly jump into the other example. So here is a full-fledged version of their demo data, and what you can see if I hover over, I can see that I'm in a sales group kind of project, and I'm doing the sales network reorganization, and it has something to do with a network boost. So how I envision this is that this is a portfolio, this is a program, and this could be a project. So the detail actually is the project. Now, there is a lot of customization that you would need to do in your project online data if you want to have that surfaced as I mentioned just now. So be aware that there might be some things that you need to tweak in order to get the good visualization that you actually want. Now these are milestones. Very cool, very nifty, very nicely visualized on top of the project. And you can do a number of things here with the formatting. You can have the milestone range for different kinds of coloring and different rectangles, different forms. There is also an option here in milestones, and you can say, okay, well, I will not show text because it might be too cluttered. You can also show the text on the right side, but if it doesn't show text at all, it won't show the dates as well. So there's no dates here. I can even change the date format if I want to. And then something I really liked was that where there's an option to have the grid lines when milestones only. So this is very nice, where if I turn off the bars and I see the milestones only, there is an actual nice little grid line navigating us back to that new tools section. So once again, if I have the bars open, it won't show that grid line, and it does show the milestone on top of the task. or project in this case. And if I remove the bars and I see only the milestones, I get this nice little guideline on top of that project. So I really like that visual, and let's jump back into the original. So here is what we can do with project and project online. I would say go no further than your projects in using this visual roadmap. You might want to have your milestones as well here, but don't go any further. What I do like is that you have the option to change the time scaling very quickly, very easily, and you have two separate lines here. So let's change the time axis, where you have the bottom tick and top. You can have both on the bottom, you can have both on the top. There's nice visual changes that you can do. And for the ticking label, that's the lowest one, you can set it to months and years, and then have the tick interval being year, or you can set that to quarter. That way you see that there's different values showing up here compared to the month values, which are very, very strict. You can also set that to year so that you know which year we are in. Let's put that back to quarters. You can have the label position as being between the ticks, or set it on the ticks themselves. There's a number of things that I really like about this visualization changes. The time axis, they really took their time on changing that. Then there's also the nice range, and the nice range, if we turn it off, it will surface the beginning of the earliest project and the end of the latest project. But if we have the nice range, it will actually select the first year value and the last year value of that year that you have in your project. So that's very nice, very neat. I haven't seen that before. We can have quarters so that you have that a bit more closer to the data itself. Very nice visual. And then you have the option to have that additional timeline on top. I can even remove that, or I can push that back on, and I can change that to surface. Well, maybe I want to have that on year basis, and I can show only years. So this makes a lot of sense, where I can do it on quarters as well and show the quarters. So now we have the months here, and we have the quarter on top, and we can, once again, we can push that all to the bottom if we want, where that would make sense for you to visualize. Then one last thing that we can do with this visual is we can add details, and for instance we can add the project manager name. We could do that here. That would make sense. Or we could have some cost values here as well, or duration, or effort, or basically a subset of data is able to land on this bar for you. Now, like any of those visuals, you can change the size of these bars. I'm not going to dive into that because that's not a unique selling point for this visual here. So with that said, this is the ADWISE roadmap, a very nice small visual, I would say, comparable with the AS timeline that we mentioned in the previous video as well. But there's not that much power. Now that goes for the other way around in the Acterys Gantt chart. It doesn't have that nice starting visual. That's too bad, because that would have made that would have made a difference for me. As a user, I want to have that first screen telling me you're in good hands. And immediately, if you look at the items that you need to add within this tool, you know that you're talking to a visual that is database driven, because it has that task ID, it has a parent task ID, it is an AP principal, an AP key. Well, some of this, the root of why this is so database driven, is because this is an actual link to an actual application called Acterys. So because I don't have an Acterys account or a database or anything like that, I cannot interact with these parts. I have seen a demo environment of how that editing feature works, and I've put the link here in the file itself. And apart from that, it looks very cool. It looked very functional as well. So I gotta hand it to them for this. But let's have a look on how that visual actually performs. So let's dive in and let's grab our tasks. Let's go to task name and then start date and then finish date, and nothing shows up. This is frustrating. You would say, okay, well, this is the bare minimum that we would require. Well, maybe it needed to have the actual start value instead of that date hierarchy, but no, still no data. So this visual actually needs the project task ID to perform. So let's add that task ID here. Yes, here is that hidden task. And as soon as I populate that, things start to show up. Very nice. So here it surfaces the data, and the visual is straight out of the bat. It looks great. It looks wonderful. It has a task name, progress, start name, start date, finish date. It has a nice granularity to it. It looks nice. It looks good. There's a nice bar here that drops down as soon as you're out of that scope. So that works. That works very nicely. But then we are going to fill in some more data, and for instance we have the progress. So here we have that progress. If we add that to the visual, we will see numbers popping up. And one of the things that triggered here was that this is a percentage, but actually this is 33%. This is 5%. This is 2. This is 28. 28. So that value didn't come across correctly. Something to solve in your data set, obviously, nothing staggering or anything. Then something I really liked and really thought was wonderful is that you can double tap on it and you can change the progress here, and you can click on OK, and it actually populates that in the visual. But don't be fooled. Without a link to the Acterys data source, this actually will not retain any information. So you can save this, you can make a screenshot of it, but as soon as you leave and you reopen that file, that 50% is gone. I'm reopening that data now, and as you can see, that summary, it didn't retain that 50%. It was too good to be true. And obvious. The reason why this happened is because there's no data link, there's no source that it's writing back to. So it was a very nice feature, and maybe this is useful during meetings where the PMO just drags and drops this and tells what it's actually going to be, makes a screen dump of it, and further updates the actual service. But yeah, without the Acterys data set, it doesn't make any sense to me. Now there's also a link to resource assignments, and there's a link to parent task ID, there's a current user, an AP principal and an AP key, and these only make sense if you are linked up to the Acterys visual, the Acterys dataset. Now here there's API details that you need to fill in to actually link up to the database. And there's visual UI, which you can scale the timeline. But other than that, it is very straightforward, a normal visual. So the visualization is wonderful, but there is no granularity here. That is a big minus, where I would say, okay, well, if I have tasks, sure. If I have a single project, I could surface those tasks very neatly and it would look great. But there is no differentiation between summary tasks and normal tasks. There is in milestones, and that has a big advantage compared to, for instance, the ADWISE roadmap. But if I would go, for instance, into the project name and I surface that on top, nothing really happens, which sounded strange to me. I do like this, that it is very responsive, but it doesn't surface that project task, that project name. It doesn't surface that project name, which is strange because it's in there. So is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that I'm not doing correctly? There's this button save here, but that doesn't show up because I'm not linked up to the dataset again. So that's it for the ADWISE roadmap and the Acterys Gantt. Now I'm not going to give any verdict on these visuals because, yeah, clearly they both have done a great job in creating a visual that suits certain needs. I will, however, state that neither seem to be fit in an enterprise solution such as Project Online, with different layers of data, project, portfolio, program, task, phases. Neither of them have a good solution for that part. So I created this specific Power BI file that you can grab as a subscriber to the newsletter, and the link is down below. And you might also like to visit the other Gantt chart videos that I have on a playlist here. And obviously, I would love it if you could subscribe to the channel and clicking that like button. For now, at least, I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.